This man right here had a dream about what we saw yesterday. And in his dream, it was accurate beyond belief. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. Kind of amazing someone can predict something like that 4 months beforehand, back in March. And this is actually a live stream he did yesterday saying it happened. What he had seen in his dream ultimately happened. This is back when he actually made the prediction. It's the same guy. He predicted it. Now, of course, my channel is a business channel, so you're like, why are you talking about this? Well, the fact is he was very, very accurate in his prediction. He said it would go right by his ear, graze it. He says that he would go down on his knee. He said also in his dream that before this all happened, he would start surging and getting more popular, which is exactly what's happened. But what's interesting is what he says as happening after this in his dream that you might want to hear also about. Because if he got two things right, maybe he's going to get the rest of them right as well in this same exact dream, right? Which is kind of interesting. One of them has to do with the economy crashing very soon here. That's something that might pique the interest of those watching my business channel as well. On top of what happened, of course, to him, we're talking about yesterday, right? So obviously this is kind of important. So this was actually the video where he predicted it. This guy's like a minister. I've seen him before here and there. His name's Steve Cocchiolanti. I don't know how to say his name. All right. I've watched him maybe like 6 times max. Over the last 10 years. I've seen the guy here and there though. He talks about the solar eclipses way back when. Was that March? I was also talking about it back then. But he says here about how it flew by, of course, his ear. Right there. And this again, let me show you. March. Okay, March. We're in July. So predicted it before it happened. He also says that he gets popular before this occurs, which is exactly what happened. Then says a number of other things occur, which you may want to know about. I guess we'll talk about a little bit of that. And also how all my research actually backs up what he says will happen with the economy. What we've been saying all this entire time, that basically it's going to be like the Great Depression. He says it's going to be worse than that. And actually, I'm not surprised if it is worse. Wouldn't really surprise me whatsoever because it looks like it's going that way, right? And we've seen all the markers. We've seen the data. We've seen the funny formulas they're using, the funny math that they use to make things look good. And we've covered it on this channel. He talks about, of course, he says some other interesting stuff. So we'll have to see if this stuff comes true. Okay, maybe the guy just got lucky. I guess you could say he got lucky because I'm sure some people who watch my channel here don't believe in this stuff, right? But he got 2 things right already, right? He says something about he becomes a believer. I guess we'll see if that happens. Of course, some say he already is one. The thing is he says stuff that doesn't exactly jive with the faith. Here and there. I've heard him say it's the same God between different religions, which is not true. But we'll see if he really does come on, get on fire for him, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see if he changes a lot after this whole thing. If it's true, great. It sounds good to me. Then it says here that, what does he say? He says something about, okay, let me try to read this. Through the judges and through the law, I'm reading what he says, and all these people trying to sue him and all this stuff, but there would be a stop to it, and their things would start to break free come toward the fall. So then he saw him winning what's coming up at the end of this year. So he sees him winning, which isn't a huge stretch. I mean, honestly, the guy is very popular. And the guy going against him is not exactly popular. Let's just put it that way, all right? So wouldn't be shocking if he won, all right? So it says here he wins. But then there will be a great economic crash, worse than the Great Depression. Honestly, I'm not surprised if that occurs. I'm actually surprised it hasn't occurred yet, okay? Okay. Honestly, I think the reason why it hasn't occurred yet is because they keep playing these funny math games to make it look better. So everybody's like, oh, it's fine. Everything's great. When actually they're just playing games with the numbers. Like, for example, the one the Economic Ninja caught the other day, where Fred put out the median sales price of houses sold in the United States and put out this back when he took the snapshot, you could see that it is obviously dropped 480,000 down to about 430 or even less. But then, of course, they've changed the data now. Look, here's the Fred, the exact same one. Median sales of prices of houses sold in the United States. Median sales prices sold in the night. Yeah, I can't speak. It's the same thing. But notice on quarter 4, 2022, it doesn't say 480 plus anymore. It says 440. Why would they do that? Because they want you to think it's sideways. Oh, there's nothing wrong. It's just like back in 2018. No big deal. Everything's fine. But see, if it's actually, as the data originally showed, it is already showing it crashing partially. The housing market. Okay, so they don't want you to know that for some reason. You see what I mean? There's a lot of this stuff. I've talked about all this stuff on this channel. We talked about, here we go. The shadow stats. We're talking on unemployment, how they try to make it look like it's super good. Here you go. It was 6% in 1994. They claim it's 4.1% right now on the official red line there. On the blue shadow line, notice it was 15% in 94, and it's 25% today. Clearly hiding actual unemployment. So they hide we're talking unemployment being hidden. We're talking about inflation. They're doing it with inflation. I hope I don't got to show this all, but I mean, literally everything they do this with now almost. It seems like it's pretty ridiculous, actually. They don't show you all the data on the M2 money supply. They don't show you all the inflation data. They don't show you the unemployment correctly. They don't show you the median house prices. What do they show correct? Right? See, this is the point. So everybody thinks everything's fine, which will make it even a worse crash because everyone thinks it's fine and all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's gone. So this is what is said is going to occur in his dream. Okay, let's get back to the dream because even though this is a business channel, some people are like probably wanting to hear more about this. So, all right. What else does he say? So he's in the Oval, office and he's praying and weeping apparently because the economy's gone and people around him. This sounds interesting. I really am curious if this will occur. Okay. So far, he's gotten it correct. Let's see if the rest of this comes true. It sounds very interesting the way it's reading. They are praying over what's going on. And this is considered like a correction for us. We're talking spiritual on top of other things. I mean, obviously financial. They've been just letting this thing go and go and go, and they haven't fixed it. They haven't let it correct. So they've just been inflating everything and letting it become a bubble, right? And when it pops, it's just going to be really bad. Let's put it that way. So it says here, okay, so what does he say here? It says, the financial crisis of what is coming, it started to lift above the trees. I saw blue and then things coming back out in the green times. Good times coming back again. Huh. Okay, so apparently we come out of it. That's a good thing, If it's as bad as the Great Depression, that's not going to be good. But so apparently they said there's going to be revival. It's not all going to be bad, apparently. So that's good news, right? That's some good news. And he goes into it. What else does he say here? He says the black horse, you've heard of Revelation, is the financial crisis, Great Depression. I hear people who follow. So he talks about sort of like interpreting all the stuff in scripture and stuff. At any rate, so I think, is that all the business stuff he says here? He says that he wins by a lot. We'll see if that happens. I mean, honestly, if it is totally like it should be on the up and up, I think it would be a landslide. It seems like it'd be pretty obvious at this point. At least currently as it looks like it would be that. But even the other side is admitting that already. Okay. They're like, this just puts it in the bag, right? What happened, just makes it even more in the bag, right? But what's really curious about what did occur, we see some really strange things if you've been following it. And I'm not gonna go through all the details, but there was one guy, a redhead dude, very red, was on the news saying that he had actually saw this guy like 3 minutes beforehand, and it was pointing at him for like 2 or 3 minutes, saying he's over there, maybe you should do something, and said he got the attention of, the police and stuff, but apparently they never did anything, or maybe they didn't know what he was talking about. I don't know. You would think if someone's pointing at something, you'd be like, well, maybe I should go over there and look. I don't know. So that was that. And it's really strange because, you would think that they would be interested. Also, on top of that, they didn't really secure the entire area, which is kind of strange as well. You would think they would have done a better job. So I don't know what was all going on with this. It just seems really strange how it all played out. There's all these different theories on what's going on. I'm not going to get into any of that. Honestly, I've heard some of them. I don't even believe some of the ones I heard anyways. So I don't know what to think about it. It just seems very strange. I don't think it was like some sort of planned thing or anything. Like, I don't think he wanted that to occur or something. Right? I don't think he wanted that, right? That seems insane and impossible to pull off anyways. But so that whole thing, I don't believe any of that. But it's just curious, some of the facts that I've heard surrounding it. I don't know what to think about it. Getting back to some of what this guy was saying, he says he wins. He says the economy crashes, which, like I said, that sounds okay. I mean, that makes sense to me. I can see it crashing anytime. Now, what we've seen is a lot of things kind of marking this. We've seen some of the data, even though they apparently want you not to see it. We've seen some of the data making markers for this. We've seen it with this. I'm sure you've seen this viral video. I talked about it in the previous video about a guy hitting his reorder button on a 2022 order. The 2022 order was $126. He hit reorder all for the exact same items, and it was $414. Now, they tell us that inflation's only went up 7% a year. I don't think 126 to 414 is 7% a year for 2 years. I think it's a little bit more than that. But, I mean, we've seen that all over the place. I've seen it in my own taxes. At the end of the year, I've noticed every year it's like another 20% or 15% more on restaurants at least. And it's like pretty much double what it was 4 years ago. Easy double. Now, this might be sort of an exceptional situation with his reorder. Maybe it's not always like that. Maybe it's only double instead of triple or quadruple. Or maybe it's only like, 150% up depending on the items. But the fact that it's so expensive, right? And by the way, if you haven't already got it, considering we might have some not so fun times in the future with an economic, problem, you might want to get yourself some food supply, right? This is a 25-year shelf life, only $177 for a month's worth. This guy's was a month's worth of food for $414 today. So, of course, this is dried food. This is for if you can't get to the supermarket. It's for that type of situation. So, if you haven't already got it, highly recommend you get it. If you do get any of this, don't get this one down here. Just click this one 3 times. It'll be the exact same amount. For $530, you'll save $160. You can thank me later. So, link is in the description of this book. Of course, this book as well, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, How to Build a Cellar, Do Things Around the House Like They Did in the Good Old Days. Considering you might not be able to afford anything in the future, you might want to get this book anyways. $37 plus shipping. Link is in the description for that. There's a gold and silver link below. I've heard people have dreams about people bartering. I don't know if those are true. Those are just other people. Who knows? It could just be them having a weird dream. I don't know. But I've heard of people having dreams about bartering. Like literally taking their power tools to get food and stuff. So it might be wise to get some gold and silver if you haven't already. Link is in the description for that. And also might be wise to get some stuff you can sell in such a situation. Things people want no matter what, even when they're broke, like food. Might want to have some of that stuff in stock so you can sell it or whatever when something happens. Of course, there's other things you could sell as well. But at any rate, also my website finally updated it a million years later. I know I was on vacation for a month. Sorry about that. But finally got my website updated. Go check it out. Lots of videos over there. As usual, I think I put 40 or 50 videos up over there all at once. That was fun. I'm telling you, that was super fun. But there's lots of videos over there to go check out if you haven't already seen them. Link is in the description for that. Let's get back to the video. So, of course, we've seen all these companies going bankrupt this year. This is also another indication of what's coming. Companies are going bankrupt at the fastest pace since 2020, a historic surge. And of course, we're talking 70% up from last year with regards to Chapter 11 filings. 70%. The first half of this year, 1,000 companies out of business. Chapter 11 this year. It was only 580 last year at the first half of the year. Was it the first half or first quarter? First half, right. First half of the year. So then you have, of course, them wanting to, and I've talked about why this is going on. They want you to own, of course, nothing and at the same time be happy. Well, we can see that a lot of people have stopped looking or seeking employment. That's what we saw with this graph here, that a lot of people just quit. And this is the shadow stats, all right? And the reason why is because they'd rather be broke and not work than be less broke and work. They're still broke either way. So that's how some people, their logic is. And of course, now they want to replace those type of people with robots, right? Meet the AI-powered robots that big tech thinks can solve global labor. Why is there a labor shortage? Because you're not paying enough. Why are you not paying enough? Because they printed all that money, took the dollar off the gold standard. But there is a way we can solve all this. I think even after an economic crash, we could solve this. Put the dollar back on the gold standard. Not rocket science. Balance a budget. Drill for some oil. Let's do some real, actual changes that will solve problems. And I think some of those ideas would actually work. I used to think that, you couldn't turn this around, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that it's possible. It's just they're doing literally the opposite of what they need to do, and they tell us they're trying to solve it when they're not. But at any rate, so you get kind of the idea. What else do we got here? Okay, so back to this guy's dream. So it's kind of like a bittersweet taste. Like if he does get a win, awesome, but then you have an economic crash. Wow, that sucks. At least then they'll have to really do some real changes to fix everything, right? Because honestly, they haven't been doing that. They've been kicking the can down the road for decades and decades now. Never fixing anything. Just pretending like they're fixing stuff. And just be honest. Just do things right. If you have the dollar on the gold standard, you can't cheat. Like print money and give it to your friends. You can't cheat anymore. There's all this cheating is what's caused this. Okay? That's why we're in the situation we're in. Now even Japan. Japan is showing signs of going under. And this is like an indicator for us because we follow the same debt-based model as Japan. And we're seeing, of course, this is their currency. Their currency is underneath our currency. Our currency is the top reserve currency. Currently, I would say not necessarily in the world. They say in the world still, but not really, because it's fading very quickly in the East. BRICS is essentially putting the yuan as the reserve currency in their area or sector, and they are getting close to having a fully autonomized. Look at right here. This is what I'm talking about. We are leaving the space dominated by the dollar, developing mechanisms and tools for a truly independent financial system. They already have a lot of it in place. Its creation is not possible in the near future, but steps taken in this direction are obvious. And honestly, I don't even agree with them. I think they've already taken a considerable amount of steps to be fully independent. And they're a lot closer than I think he's saying. Honestly, I think they're pretty close. Because they've pretty much dropped the dollar on on the stock market there. They've taken up the banking system from China. There's not a lot left. Honestly, they're doing quite well. And then by the way, that country, we're talking Russia, is considered a wealthy country now. And I'll tell you why. So here we go. This is interesting to me because this is what I was talking about. So look at this. They're classified as a high-income country now. Why? They put their currency back on the gold standard, and they're also they're not in an economic cycle now. They're in a WAR cycle, which also builds the economy. But those two together are what's building this high-income status in their country. So this is actually a road ahead that makes sense. That we should be doing something at least similar in the respect of fixing our economy, balancing budgets, and putting the dollar back on the gold standard. Because clearly the petro contracts are goners. We saw what happened with Saudi Arabia jumping over to BRICS. So at any rate, and then we're seeing kind of how the world has been of recent. Even looks like China's jumping in on it now. You got sanctions and the dollar used as a mean, sort of a bully tactic for goals. And this is what's been happening in the world. That's why they're dropping the dollar. And now we're seeing, of course, Poland saying they're preparing, right? Why are they preparing for full, of course, scale? Why? Because China recently has been doing, of course, drills with Belarus next door. This is literally the day after. The day before, they're doing drills, China. And the day after, this comes out. Meaning, China's jumping in on the WARs now. So, you see where I'm getting? See where we're going with all this? At any rate, it doesn't say in the dream that we have something like a world WAR. Perhaps just us having an economic crash will, they just, that'll do it. And if, of course, the other guy's in as the, Prez, then he doesn't seem to be interested in WARs anyway. So maybe that'll just end the whole thing in that respect. And then it'll just be us dealing with licking our wounds because our economy is so terrible. But also you have, of course, some saying, what if we have a civil, WAR? I don't think that's going to happen. You had this movie recently come out regarding this year. And it has Kirsten Dunst in it. I saw it yesterday. It just doesn't, the whole story didn't seem feasible to me, the way it was playing out and stuff. The way they had it all playing out. On top of that, I think if we have an economic crash, I don't think you're going to be seeing this really happen. People are going to be too broke and dealing with that to want to even deal with this. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see that either. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see the opposite, people coming together instead. That's my theory on that. But it was, it's kind of interesting. It has a 7.1 on IMDb, this movie. But if you go look at Amazon Prime, it has like a 3 out of 5 or something. Just a flat 3 out of 5, which usually isn't a good sign. I'm thinking maybe they gamed some of the, the ratings or something for this movie. I don't know. Maybe they're canceling some of the ratings. I don't know. Kind of wonder what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.